Okay, I guess we're good to go now. So, let me go ahead and explain you what we have prepared for today's session. So, basically, when you are in open source or like when you're contributing to any repository, even at your workplace, while you get selected, like maybe for any company or like for open source projects, you will need a software to keep in check, like at what time, how it was. So just imagine, like, let me give you a simple example. So just imagine like you have to submit a presentation to your college. So you decided this is the final copy and now I want to like submit it to the college. But at the last moment, you thought maybe I should do some edits, and then what you wanted to like do is like keep the older version also and the new version also. Like in case if your friend suggested you to go with the previous one, you could show them that one. Okay. So in those case scenarios, like you can imagine, there is this one version, then your friend created another, then another. Like there can be bunch of files. So you want to like should be what doing is like create a file, and you could like track changes, what changes you made, and so that you could like revert those. Something similar to Control Z, Control Z that you do in your PC to undo. So something that is called like version control system in simple words. So in software industry, just imagine, I assume you all are, some of you and like most of you know about a bit about web development. So imagine like you created a web page, like a good home screen, and what you like decided about, you thought that, okay, it looks good now and I should keep it. But at like another moment, you thought that, okay, I could like change some things. You did changes. Then again, you thought I could do some changes. Again, you did. Now, like after 3 or 4 changes that you did, now you realize that the thing that I had done in the first place was much better than what I'm with right now. So what your options you are left with? Technically, you could like save the files every day and keep it separately. And other thing is that you can do is like just like save the latest copy. In that case, your the actual file will be deleted and you can't like help yourself with it. So to like keep track and like go back and do these changes, like there is Git. So imagine you did some changes today, then tomorrow you did another, day after another you did another. But at any moment you could come back to the first day or like second or anywhere in between these things. So it is like much easier to go and like switch between. So this is like a bit idea behind it. Okay, just a second. Sorry, like there were people around. So the second point is like what is version control? So like as I said you, version control, also known as source control, like practice of tracking and managing changes to software code. Version control systems are software tools that help software teams manage changes to source code over time. So imagine like you are building a piece of software, you want to keep track of changes, like what comes between, like you have version 1, then you have version 2, like the when you update your app or like your even operating system. So you keep track of every changes that you did. And in case you feel like something was better at a point, you could like roll back. So that is like version control is all about. Uh, Second thing, like why these things version control like Git and GitHub is going to be really helpful for you guys is most of the time before you like even go for your placements or anything, even in placements, like the recruiters see if you know any sort of version control systems, and it is better if you know Git and GitHub in these days. Like you will pretty much find yourself like code and people, you will build software obviously, and that you can like keep a good track using Git and GitHub. So while you go into your company, get selected, and then you learn it and then face problems, it's better that you learn it in your college life. Second added benefits are like there are tons of open source programs, like maybe MLH, you can say, even GSOC or LFX mentorships. They you have to work on a project that is like being contributed by a lot of people. So in that case, you must have to use any sort of version control systems. And Git is like one of those, and you can say it is the most popular one, like being used. So I'm going to go ahead in the next slide. So this is history of Git. So Git was created by Linus Torvalds. So any of you who don't know his name, so Linus Torvalds is the father of Linux kernel. Like he developed the kernel for Linux. And like in between, while he was developing Linux, he was facing some problems like keeping track of file changes. So at that time, he was using like Bitbucket, some sort of you can say Git, but not like something similar to Git. That was also a version control system, but that was closed source. Like people couldn't see their code. So Linus Torvalds sort of created a side project to like help him with his Linux project, and this is like when Git was born. It was around 2006, I guess I remember. So moving ahead to the next slide, why Git and GitHub? So, like if you are not getting that much of like what's going on, like stay, hold on a minute. Let me complete the slides so I could like you can get overview. I could explain you much better. So the first thing is like why Git and GitHub? Okay, so Git is extremely popular version control system that is at the heart of why variety of high profile projects. So if you go look at Mozilla softwares like your Firefox browser, Chrome, not Chrome, but Chromium project, the inside of like what Chrome is, they also like use Git and GitHub. So if you see and look around tons of open source project, they are using like version control systems to keep track, and Git and GitHub are being most popular since Git is open source and really flexible. Like it helps you a lot of time. So that's why people quite often use it. Apart from that, why GitHub? So since if you might not know a little bit of trick, like GitHub is something you can say where you keep your Git repository. So imagine you put when you are like keeping a track of a file in your like PC, local PC, it's in your PC. No other people can see. And if you are working in collaboration, you need to have the code base somewhere on public or like somewhere on server so other people can access at the same time. You might say, okay, he can access from my PC, but then it comes around like you might have turned off your PC, your PC might get like blocked or it might get destroyed in any case and the code base will be lost. So GitHub is there to help you out. So it just you can say like for picture you have Pinterest, for photos like you have Instagram. So for Git, it's like GitHub. Uh, this is like a simple analogy that I could put up to. Okay. So moving ahead next in the session, like this is a simple of what a repository is. So where you like sort of store your Git files, like your project with Git, that's called a repository. Like in short, we call it repo on GitHub. Like I will show you on GitHub how it's done. Uh, Second thing, like now we are coming to the closer part. So if you're using Linux, I guess Git will be probably installed in your PC. And if you're on Windows, just you can search ahead and like in a tab, like Git download, okay? And something simple link will show up like this. So you could choose your operating system, if you're Mac, Windows or Linux, you could just download it, okay? So you could like simply use download from here. Just search Git downloads and you can get this. So there at like people usually sometimes prefers GUIs like the visual editor for Git, and most of the people usually prefer the command line interface of Git. So Git is typically based on Bash programming language, something like what Linux user might be familiar with, but it's like not really that hard if you're using Git. So like Git always like gives you a lot of messages that are like enough self-explanatory. The error messages is like, so if you have downloaded Git, so simply go and open up your terminal, like whatever terminal you're using, and you could just simply type Git version, and it would like show you something like this. So when you download it, when you install all the things, this is something that you will get. Uh, you could like go ahead and do it along the way if you wish, or like you can keep a paper and pen and keep a note down what you have to do after the session. So it will be much easier for you to like grasp what went ahead. Okay. So when you like have done this part, you have downloaded Git. you can't just use it simply. Okay, like you could use it like to clone and everything, but to do a commit, you have to like initialize it, like let the git that know that it's you. Okay, so I don't know like how to allow all people at a time, so no one should be asking. Okay, so if you're getting confused what I said about commit and clone, just hold on a bit. Okay, so when you have installed git, so these are the basic commands that you have to run. First, you have to like git config and user.name. This is you have to replace with your name that you want people to see you as. Like simply I could do Aman Raj. If you like want some funky names that you're using for your GitHub profiles, you could also use that, maybe X404, not font, whatever, and git config, and then here you use the email address that you will be using to like show which user had made these changes. So these two things are necessary when you have installed Git. Just do it like in the future when you will be doing some other stuffs with Git, you will for sure need it. So it's better if you like install and get it configured in the first round. Probably I will share you the slides after the meeting. So don't worry, like I could probably mail you or like you could take a screenshot, and more simple term will be like what a developer always does is like open Google tab and like search config git. You will probably get this command out somewhere. The next command is clone. Okay, so what clone is? So basically you saw a code base on like GitHub somewhere and you want the exact same copy of that thing in your PC. How could you do that? So Git made this simple, like using there's a simple command git clone and the repository link. It will just download it in your PC. So clone, you could simply know it by the virtual English language what clone means. Clone means basically creating a copy of something. So if I take you over GitHub, okay, if you don't see something interface like this, so maybe it might be reason like you haven't signed up for Git yet. So if I go somewhere, maybe just a project of mine. Okay, so if I want to clone it, like even if you want to clone it, you could just go ahead, copy this link. Okay, and then go back to the terminal, go to the folder that you want to like store your git like this project to. So I'm in movies right now, so I will just do git clone, this is simple command. And if I do this, this will like download the project from the server of GitHub to my local PC. So if I could show you now, you can see that here it is downloaded. CD good sync. So yeah, it's now in there. Okay. So this is as simple as that. The minimum command that you should know is like git clone. It can like help you a lot of times when you have to like copy someone's code, or I don't know, like just simply see a simply run a project locally on your own, like make custom changes. So git clone is like something simple for that thing. It basically means create a copy of the repository in your own local PC. It goes over GitHub or like whatever service you are using. Maybe there are alternatives of GitHub like Bitbucket, GitLab. So you could like do that as well. The process is simple: git clone and the repository link. I will just take a minute and like ask you guys if you are like facing any sort of confusion or anything in general. Having a look at the chat. If you're having any questions, confusion, you could just ask ahead. Anyone having any doubt? Should I take it as well, like you don't have any doubts for now? See, I will suggest you again. Uh, if you want to like know a little bit about like feel curious to ask anything, you any stupidest question you can think of. Uh, okay, so Prem said when you run the command, there is a message of error. So like you downloaded Git first. If you could, you can turn on mic. No one is judging you. Like I have even made more serious. So you have to download Git first. If you have Linux distributions, probably you might have Git installed, but you have, if you are using Windows or Mac, you have to probably go over, like search Git downloads in like Google, and the first link that pops up, from there you can download Git and install it. Okay. Meanwhile, you can another tab, you can just do that and like let us know. Anyone else having any problem? Or should I go ahead? Okay, I take it as a no, like you don't have any problem. So I'll like move ahead and go over the next slides. So what is fork? Okay, so fork is something you could say on GitHub. So what forking means is like you create a copy of that repository, but not on your PC, but on the server itself. So if I like head over and take you to GitHub, okay, I can fork my own branch, I guess. If you click over any project like create fork, so you can create a like copy of this on your server. Like see, this project, maybe you can, how can I show you? Okay, let's go to some, yeah, let's like this is open source project with Flutter community, and I want to like make a own copy of my, I want to like make a own copy of my project. So what I could do is simply create a fork. Okay, then these are my project. Okay, so you can select your account and like this will create a copy of this original project on your GitHub server. Okay, not on your PC but on a server. And why it's necessary, you will realize it after some time. Like when you're contributing to projects, you first push to your repository, then you like ask permissions for from the original repository that you want to do some changes to them. If it's getting a little bit confusing, just see it as like you want to create a copy of that project, but you like want to just store it in your like low server. So something similar you can say like you are creating this in your Google, like how can I explain this? So see, there is this, you found a file on Google Drive, you want to like own it, like you want to have that file. So what you could do is like you could download it. Okay. Other thing is like you could simply get that thing directly in your Google Drive. See, this was other person's like Google Drive, and you wanted a file, you could download it, or you could like either state in your store it in your own Google Drive. So you can like access it even if people have deleted this. So this is something similar, the concept of fork. Okay. If it is getting a little bit confusing, you can sort of like ignore it. If I go through all the pieces and it will like make more sense to you, much more sense to you. The like one of the famous commands about Git is like git commit. Before that, you have to do git init. So like I'll go through the slides once and I'll like show you a practical example of how it all happens in the line. Okay. So what git commit means? So basically when you want that, okay, this is the code and this is the time. If in future anything goes wrong, I want to come at this point. So at that point you create a commit. It is as simple as that. Okay. So so imagine you were creating a web page for your front end page, like you design whole things. Now you want to like, okay, this is like where I want to like save this file, particular file. So you do a git commit there. So basically it like stores that particular file in it. And when you do more changes, not the file, but it stores the changes exactly. So in future, if you go ahead, mess up your code, you could just come back at this particular point where you have committed the code. So this is like what git commit is all about. And what Git push is? Git push is basically if you have a GitHub account, you could push your code to, wait a minute. I don't know how to add co-hosts. Sorry. So when you have like done your changes, you want to remotely push on your code on GitHub. So this is like where git push command comes in. I will show you a live example for it. And git pull. So git pull basically means if you have made changes on GitHub, now you have a local copy in your PC and you want to get the latest changes from the server to your PC, you run this git pull command. Okay. And there comes the part about branches. So branches are basically like you are having, how can I explain? So imagine you are having a simple thing like you work in a team, three friends of you are working on a project, and one of you decided, okay, I want to like try something different with this, and you are really not sure if it's okay or not. So what you do is like you create another copy of that project in the same like repository, and you develop it separately. If you some at point you like it, you merge it in the main, like get the changes in the main. If you don't like, you just sort of leave it. Now this was like all about the slides. Now let's get back into like the practical example of it, how it all works. So first of all, if you have to like on Windows or like on Mac, even on Linux, if you want to just search like git download. Okay, if you do this, you will like land on a website, something simple like this. You could go for Windows and download for Windows 60-bit installer. 64-bit installer. Most of you might be using this. If you're having a really old PC, you might be using 32-bit. So this would be good to go. You could just probably click it. It will download executable. Okay. And then you could just double tap and install it. I have already installed it, so you don't need to like install it. Uh, so just download it. Just download it. That will be like more than enough. Then what you have to do is next step. So you have to like open your terminal, okay? And if you have installed successfully, if you do git version, okay, this is what it will show up like something like git version 2.3.6.1. Okay, so now I know that I have git installed. So how we actually work on git, okay? So gonna give you a little bit of example. So maybe imagine that now I'm creating a project, okay? So let me create a folder for it. Maybe I can say git test, okay? Okay, so if you're like not familiar with terminal, I didn't anything special. What I did is mkdir for like make directory, and this is like git test. This is the folder that I made. Probably you could just go ahead in your folder, right click and do the same thing. It will just work the similar way. Okay. So now what I will do is like to show you much in a much better way, I will try to open it up in GitHub, okay, like VS Code. So you could see the changes. Terminal might get confusing at the first time of usage. So it will be much better. So what I could do is code git test. Okay. Now I open this folder in GitHub. Okay. Now imagine this is a simple, maybe you can say index.html file with project. Okay. And nothing simple, nothing like fancy, simply git test. Okay. So now I have a file, right? And I want to track the changes. So imagine I now like did git test to git test one or git test to git test two, like added more things. Now I like at some point in future I want to like I don't want like what was on the first time it was much better. So how will I like track the changes? So the first step when you like in do any project is so you sort of initialize Git. So I'm in the folder of Git test, if you could see. So what I will do is Git init. Okay. So init stands for initialize. Okay. So if I do Git init, that I'm telling Git to like now track all the changes that are happening in this folder. Okay. So now Git will tell me like, okay, there are some changes, the new files are added, new lines are deleted, some sort of stuff like that. Every minute detail. Okay, whatever like line board or whatever, even a full stop you have changed, Git will recognize it that you did something like this. And cherry on the cake, if you want something not to like be included, you could probably ignore that as well. I will tell you in a minute. So this is it, like git init in it. And then if I check git status, okay, so if you could see, like read properly what it says on branch master. As I told you, like a branch is something called subversions, you could say, or like flavors of something. So on branch master, like master is the only branch that is created if you're like initializing a new project. And what it says, no commits yet, okay? And then it says untracked files. So like git add C. What I told you about magical about git is it also like suggest you what commands you should run, okay? So see, it says git add slash like file name to include in what will be committed. So to add that, we could probably do a simple trick here. Like we could just do git add and index.html. So it will now like stage it. So stage is simply you can say what a stage means in like your normal theaters or like in your school life. So you could say something stage is like now you are getting it ready to do the ultimate task to commit. So you could do git add like in the file name, but if you have multiple files like if I add another one, home.html, okay, and I nothing fancy, I will just write it, okay. And if I do git status, now I have to add two files. So like I have to like stage two files. What I could do is git add and this file name like home.html, then index.html. So it can get tricky. What most people do is git add, then press the dot button. So dot button means include everything. Now if I press git add dot, so you could see uh, nothing, no messages there. So in programming, if you don't see anything, that means it's better. Like any error message is bad, but if you don't see anything on the screen, it's good. Like so, the command ran successfully. If now again I check git status, so git status is something simpler as asking git, okay, tell me what changes are there. So that's what git status is, some simple. So if I see what it is said, we are on branch master, no commits yet, changes to be committed, okay, then use. It is saying git rm slash cached and the file names to unstage. So if I want to like not stage any of the file, I could use git rm. So these are like typical bash commands. Rm stands for here remove, and dot dots like minus minus sign here stands for cached. So if I run this, so I can unstage it. Okay, I can show you like git rm and chst index.html. Okay. I guess I removed index.html and this is a message rm index.html. So if I do git status, I could see like there is one file stage and another is untracked. It is not even tracking it. So probably I will just add everything in here and now everything will be like is on stage. We are not done yet. We have to make a commit. So if I do git status, you could see something simple like changes to be committed. Okay. So how to commit? So you do something simple. Git, okay, commit minus m, and then you write the message what you did. Okay, so some sort of a little bit of description. So here I added basic pages. So I can say added basics uh, pages. Okay, the format is simple. You do git commit and this sign, and under double quotes you write this. If you don't include minus m sign, it probably opens up in another editor like Vim that you might get confusing. So stick with the basics. And if I do see what message I get added basics pages. This is the commit name. Two files changed, 14 insertions. I guess this is the number of lines, and like these things were created. So if I do git status now, you could probably see we are on branch master. We have nothing to commit. Working tree clean. Okay, that's great. Now what happened? If I could summarize you, we created a file. We created another file. We staged those files, and we are now let the Git know that this is okay. Save this version for me. In future, if I mess up, I want to commit this point. So how do you know like what commits you have made? You could like do this command git log. You could say this is the commit, okay, commit hash, and this is the time when you did, and this is the author who did it. Okay, and this is like the branching. you could probably sort of ignore branching for now if you're getting a bit confused. So what we did, this simple, we first initialized the project, we then created some files, then we staged those changes, then we committed those changes, and now we're viewing what we did actually. So in between till here now, anyone having any sort of even of slightest of doubt, just go ahead and ask. I'm reading the chat section or anything in general. So, okay, Prem has asked what is Git and GitHub? Okay, so Git is like a version control system. So in there you track the changes that you have made to the project, and a GitHub is like the sort of where you store all those changes. Okay, so this is what Git and GitHub is all about. Any more specific questions like what we did in the terminal right now? Anyone having any doubt? Should I move ahead? You guys are able to hear me or not? Like, can you confirm? Hmm. Sandesh, you there in the chat? Uh, yeah. So listen, and I'm saying again, if you're getting confused, just ask. It will help you. And second thing, just pay a little bit of attention. This is something that can get you heights. Like learning a version control system like enables you to contribute in open source project that itself is like a great thing to achieve. You could probably get into lot of open source projects, and added benefit of open source project is you could probably it could probably enhance your resume, you could get a good job. Perks are a lot of in there, and the first step starts with using a simple version control system. Anyone having any particular doubt or it is bit confusing, you just can ask me. I could probably provide you a list of commands what I did, but you have to like understand. Okay, big companies like Google and Apple also use Git or do have something else. Okay, so like so many example. Let me show you by an example. So if I go ahead, Google open source. Okay, the open source.google.com. If I go to projects, new project. Okay. Where is the repository? I did I again open Android JS material. Okay, so see, this GitHub and it is being used by Google. Google like made Angular, and they're using GitHub. And in terms of if you how I know they use Git, as I have like contributed to some open source projects, and I never encountered any project that were not using Git for like cloud purpose. Some were using GitLab, not GitHub, but 90% of the time people use GitHub, and Git is like the basic thing that everyone uses. So this is for like Google, okay, and for Microsoft also do a lot of open source. Microsoft open source. If I go in here, open source.microsoft.com, and there is this project, okay, where yeah, see, it's GitHub. Okay, again GitHub. So probably when it comes about open source, you will hear GitHub for sure. 99% chances are there. Okay. So, okay, any other confusion that you guys are having? Should I move ahead, Himansu? Like, you could probably tell me. Anyone having any doubts, just please ask. Okay, so I'm moving ahead. So this is like basic what we did with Git. We created a file, we tracked. So as I told you, we have to do Git push. Okay. So what Git push basically means like take this repository, whatever changes I made, and store it on GitHub. You could probably store it on a private repository where the no one can see your code, or you could store it in a public repository. So people can see your code and like help you. What that's what like open source is like letting people see your code. So up to you. So see what it says, either specify the URL from the command line or configure a remote repository using git remote add slash name slash URL. Okay. And then push them using git push name. Okay. So what I'm going to do is there any other chart? Okay, so what is the difference in git push and git push origin master? So git push basically means push to the default branch that you are on, and git push origin master means basically you are telling him which branch to push to. You are being like specifying it. By default, it takes the like the branch that you're working on, but if you want to specify, you just do something like git push origin master. Like hold on a second, I'm trying to like show you. So let's go to GitHub, create a new repository for our testing. If I create a new repository, I will have to select something. Okay. Now I can like select a name for my project. I can simply say test project for Git session. Okay. Uh, See there, these are the options. If I want to keep it private or public, I'm sort of going to keep it public for now. There is this option if I want to add a README file. So README files are what can I say? What can I say you? See, wait a minute. So what README files are? So if you go visit a project, you see the description, the first description, even before you open any file. That's what README file is. .md stands here for Markdown, some sort of you could say similar to HTML thing that you like write some pages like this. Pretty simple. So if I go in here and I create a simple repository, okay, I got this screen. Like I told you, Git and GitHub helps you a lot. So if you're creating a new repository on the command line, you have to run these commands. Or if you have a repository already, like we have a repository already, what we will do is we will git remote add run this command first. Okay. Not here on VS Code. Okay, what this did is like remote basically means somewhere, not on a PC. So it told like Git, it told itself like Git remote add this thing. Okay, and for the name, it is taking origin. Okay, so you could have multiple remotes. I could probably do something like simple. Okay, Git remote add origin. Other than origin, I could say something like ask, and I could provide another link. Okay, any GitHub link, and that will add the remote. So basically, this is the name of the remote, okay, that you have suggested. You can have multiple. By default, origin is the one that you want to push the code to. So this is what origin here means, okay? And if I go to the tab, this was like git branch minus m main. Okay, so if I go ahead, what this does is like takes me on the main branch of my repository. So I have a branch that's named main. Okay, can you suggest us any website to add README file just by dragging and writing, not by the code? Yeah, I will suggest you just a minute. Okay, so now we change the branch to main, and now we'll just git push. Okay, so what it will do is like it will push to the origin itself. Okay, so we haven't set the upstream like where we want to push to. So see, this is the command we have to run, and if I run it here, it now push the code to GitHub. So if we go to like GitHub here, so okay, now the code is here that we did. Like, 11 minutes have passed. Great. So this is the code like we did, and now it's public on GitHub for anyone to see. I could probably provide you a link in here that you could go ahead and check if it is visible or not. Okay, just go ahead and see. So this is how like you work with a simple GitHub, and probably okay. Now let me show you what Git pull is. Okay, I went in here, like just imagine somehow some codes were added in here. Okay, so now this is like I added a new README file here. Okay, now in my local repository there is no README file, if you could see. So how will I get the latest changes from the server? I will just tell git pull. It will just make the like fetch those changes to my project. So this is how it works. And this is like in simple summary what git push and git pull does. And about the question of git, what git push origin means basically means git push, as you know, like push the code or commit to the server. Origin basically means the remote that you want to like push to, and main basically means the branch that you want to push to, like the branch you want to push to. Yeah. So this is the meaning of git branch or the command that you had asked. Is that clear? And about, can you suggest us any site where we could write README files just by dragging and dropping? So if I could go ahead, stack edit, might have something. Okay, so you can't probably just drag and drop, but if you do something simple. So if you want to do write in bold, you could just say hello. And if you want to like include some bullet list, you could do hello, hi, and something simple. And if you want to do like tables, you could probably add with this. And like there are tons of stuff. I probably when I have to write long markdown files, I use this site stack edit, the name is. And if I'm being honest, most of the time I'm used to markdown. You will be also used to markdown when you'll be working a lot with it. So probably you will using bulleted list, highlights, and hashtag. And like this is the site where you can easily make your markdown files. I don't do much better than this, so it should be good to go. Yes, sir. Which means main is basically a branch. Yeah, you can say. Yeah, you can say. Now, let me like explain the concept of branching. Can you say? So now I have a project. I want to create flavors for it. Okay. So in the first project, we have git test one. Okay. And I want to like create a simple copy, something similar to this, but I want to have like instead of git test, I want to like say aman test one. Okay. Like a little bit different. I can probably create a branch, git branch, but we'll say the branch next, something simple. Color and the command wrong. Yeah, I did. The branch was created. Yeah. Now the next branch is created. Okay. And what I will do is instead of git, I will say here blank. Okay. Now I have two copies of the same thing. If I'm on this branch, this is the change. Like let me do a commit, quick commit. So if you remember what we have to do before commit is first we run the git status command to see what changes we did. Then we add all those commands, stage all those commands. Then we do a commit. Okay. Added flavors. Yeah. Anyone having any questions? And now if I go to the other branch, you could see like we have blank test one two. If I go to origin, we have git test one two. So we have two different things for the same project. That's what the concept of branch is. Now, if you want to merge any branch into another, go to that branch that you want to merge to another and see git merge. And this was the like any XP. It will merge the code to like this thing. So these are the like basic commands that you will be using. Another thing that I want to show you that you will find practically useful is a git staff command. Okay, so like let me say you like you did some more changes. Hello, hi, bye. Okay. So now you want to like have these changes, but you don't want to commit it. You're really not sure. So you just want to temporarily store it somewhere. You don't want to post it on GitHub. You don't want to commit it so no people can see it. What you could do is do git stash. Okay, so what it will do is like it will take those changes and like store it in your PC, just in your PC, nowhere else. And next time you want to like see where those changes were, you could just say git stash apply. Okay, and the last thing that you had done will be just magically be there again. And if you like, you could do multiple git stashes. They are stacked in a form of like what stack. The latest will be on the always on the top. So this is like the concept of git stash, and you will find like very interesting. This or like this is one of my favorite commands I mostly use. We have to use. So instead of like copying the file and storing it somewhere, like git stash gives you the ability to like store those changes in your like local history. So that what git stash is. And there is another command, I guess, git stash list. So here you can see whatever changes like you are like the local changes that you had saved. Uh, as I told you, those are stored in the form of stack. So this is, you could probably go ahead and like if you want to, let me show. So this was one stash. Now I want to do another stash. I could do probably again git stash. Okay. Now if I run git stash list, you could see now we have two changes. Okay. Now we have to like be sure which one we want to like apply. So we could say git stash apply. We like want to apply the first thing that we did. So what I did wrong, git stash apply. I guess probably I have to do a space. Yeah, now you could just do this. So this is simple stashing. So if you had paid enough attention and like you are a bit familiar with programming in general, then you might have learned like how Git works in general, what Git is, what GitHub is, uh, how you could like use branches, how you can do commits, and in specific any other questions or queries that anyone is having, just you can ask, go ahead and ask. Anyone having any troubles or any questions? I would love to hear. Or if you didn't understand like much of it, or some part you want to explain me again, I could probably do that. And if my medium like saying English is being rough and not understandable, I could probably switch to Hindi. I'll have to stop the recording first then. Hmm, how to merge all branches? You can't like, I don't know. I never like saw any practical approach where I have to merge all the branches. So basically you merge one branch into another and then another into another. I told you like go to the branch that you want to merge something to, and then you say git merge and the branch that you want to merge to into this branch that you're working on. So that's how you do git merge. So told you know. Like so see, I'm on main branch. I want to merge the next branch. So what I will do is git merge next. Okay, so this will do the work. So the changes from the next will be coming into the main branch. And if I am on next, then I will, if I want to merge the main branch, git merge main already up to date. So this is it. Any more questions or anything in general you want to ask? I could like give you proper suggestions. So like let me start off the recording.